understand a person, you have to understand their origin story. Maybe that's a similar sort of analogy for the universe. So the place I wanted to start with you is by understanding the most important context from your earliest years that are responsible for the person that is sat in front of me today.
Your question is very well placed because everyone has been touched by some series of events. Unfortunately, for some people, traumatic events, but for all people, some series of events that shaped who they are. And I'd like to say that there was a series of events that planted the seeds of who I would become. I grew up in the Bronx, and in New York City, surely as is true in London, you don't have a relationship with the night sky. In a busy city, at least certainly in New York City, there were tall buildings. If you look up to see the sky, there's a building in the way. There's light pollution. And back then there was air pollution. So there was a tactical, strategic thing my parents did. I didn't know it at the time, but every weekend or every other weekend, we went places. We were exposed to all manner of things that talented adults do beyond those standard professions. First, it was entertaining, but it also meant we had exposure to other ways of thinking about what you might do with your life. One of those trips, when I was 9 years old, was to the Hayden Planetarium. And I was starstruck. You sit in a big chair and the lights dim and the stars come out, more stars than you can count. And I thought it was a hoax. I said, there aren't that many stars. I've seen the night sky from the Bronx. You're lying to me. And only later would I learn, upon going deep into the rural areas of the country, I'd see the night sky as nature intended. And to this day, when I have access to great telescopes on mountaintops, and I look up at this crystalline, clear night skies, I still say to myself, oh, that is so beautiful. It reminds me of the Hayden Planetarium. And since I was 9 years old onward, I have committed my life to learning more and more about the universe. And that's the most important seed that was planted.
Cyril and Sunchita, is that your parents' name?
Cyril is my father, and Sunchita is my mother, correct.
What was the influence that they individually had on you? From almost vicariously learning from them, but also the direct influence they had on you?
They were a moral influence, a cultural influence, and I will add, not that you explicitly ask this, but I think it fits right in this moment. Consider the period, the 1960s. You could go one of two ways if you're an angry black man. It's like you can raise your fist and threaten violence as a retaliation of the violence against you, or you can find some other way that doesn't involve violence, that involves some kind of peace, some kind of understanding. And my father, and while he grew up in the 30s and 40s, he served in a segregated army, okay? So the stuff he lived through. And while I have my own stories, none of them compare to his average story. Yet at the end of the day, he was never bitter. I remembered him saying, when you look at the images of angry white people screaming at black children entering a school who are protected by the National Guard because an edict had to be delivered to grant them access to education, he would say, they simply don't know any better. They were raised that way, that way, that way, that way. You want to hate them. So I go through life, and at least several times a week, every week of my life, growing up, I have stories. Today, they would call them microaggressions, but then it was just same shit, different day. but I never got bitter. Because you asked, what influence did they have on me? It was the non-bitter influence. You say, they don't know any better. They think they're doing the right thing. Maybe we can make a difference going forward. I think we need that today.
Oh.
Demons be gone!
Be gone, demons.
Be gone!
Leave this studio!